Okay, so you start with a picture, you drag it in Photoshop. As you remember, everything's going to be on a layer. So our background layer has all the black and white lines. I want to make a copy of that layer. You copy it by pressing Command J, and then you have the background layer, which you just leave alone, and layer 1. Layer 1 is where you make all of your selections. So we should be familiar with the selection tools. If my screen is small and I want it to be bigger, you can come here in your toolbar all the way at the bottom, and you can see there's the zoom tool. If you haven't seen it, make sure you look up at the screen. The zoom tool, the keyboard shortcut to get to the zoom tool is the letter Z. So you can zoom in on a particular area with the zoom tool just by clicking. Okay? If it's too big, you can go to the zoom options up top and go to the minus, and it'll go bigger or smaller. I also just press the command and the plus sign or the command and the minus sign to make my screen bigger or smaller. In Photoshop, there's always going to be more than one way to do something. So I have to make my selections, and I'm going to use the magic wand. And if I want to add to my selection, what do I have to press to add to a selection? Who remembers? Nobody? Let's see. If I'm adding to a selection, what do I have to press? Because you need to do this. Christian, what do you press to add to a selection? Nope. There's a keyboard shortcut. Okay, if I've used the magic wand and I select the I for I choose to be happy, and I click the magic wand in the C, then it deselects. So for every one I go to, it's just selecting the one and deselecting the other. That's a problem. If you click the mouse with your right hand and you press and hold Shift with your left hand, you can just continue to click around and make multiple selections. So Shift adds to a selection, and Option takes away from a selection. Okay, so it's important for you guys to know that. You can edit in Quick Mask, and editing in Quick Mask is down here. I go to the Quick Mask mode, and I can switch my foreground and background colors from black and white. And what it basically does is it lets you paint away the area that you want masked. And remember, whenever you're painting, you can change your brush size. So this is editing in Quick Mask. So now I have all of that text selected, and I want to add color to just the text, but I don't want it on layer 1. So I need to make a new layer. I can do that by going to Layer, New Layer, or I can go down here to the plus sign in my Layers palette. That'll give me a new layer, and I'm just going to call it Text. And now I'm going to choose my Gradient tool. Now, if my color is blue in my foreground, why is my gradient coming out pink? Well, because up here in the options bar, whenever you have a tool selected, there's options. I have it set to the pink. If I want it to the blue, I got to go back to the basics. So up here you can choose all the different kind of colors you want, but that now has my text on its own layer. Are we good with that? Command D will deselect. And that already selected one spot. If you guys submitted and you don't have a lot of detail, I would do a second one that's a little like a small one also, because you can see something like this is going to take a lot of time to work on. And I'm going to obviously be looking at how many selections you made. So here, I can use the wand, I press and hold shift. It's all repetitive. And the hope is that by repeating some of this, you'll start to understand how some of these tools work, okay? And I've got that, and now I can, again, choose a gradient, or I can choose straight color. Now I messed up because I painted on layer 1, so that's a problem. You want to always make a new layer for the color that you're going to do, and you can name it so you know what you're doing. Do you guys have any questions about these steps? If you want to fill in a solid area, right? If you want to fill something in solid, like these hearts, I'm going to hold shift so I can add to my selection. I'm selecting off of layer 1 where the lines are. And then I want to paint them one solid color. So I'm going to choose that color. I'm going to make a new layer. I'm going to call it hearts. I'm going to choose a color. And now I could do a paint bucket, which is hidden under the gradient. Or I can press Option Delete. Option and the big delete button will allow you to fill in one step. So I do my whole coloring page by selecting with the magic wand, pressing and holding shift to add to my selection. Once I have it selected, I make a new layer. I choose a gradient. I choose whatever kind of gradient I want. I paint it. I deselect, and that's that. I rename the layer. So I can paint other colors on this layer too. Maybe I'm going to do a bunch of flowers like that. But you want to have a couple of different layers, and you don't want to paint anything on layer 1 or your background layer. You make your selections off layer 1. If you want to paint something solid, the keyboard shortcut is Option and the big delete button. You choose your foreground color. You make a new layer, or I'm actually going to put this with the flower. I'm going to put this here. Option Delete. Okay, so I was able to get all that done in that short period of time. It's just very repetitive. You repeat the steps. You select off of layer 1. You make a new layer. If you forget to name your layer, you can always go back to it and turn the color on and off. This one I have nothing on it, so I'm just going to dump it. Okay. Do you have any questions? All right. So it's easiest to work when you guys who are in class to get it done here in Photoshop. So I want you having Photoshop open while you're here. Use your class time well. You guys who are at home, ask me questions. If there's problems with Photopea, let me know and I will try to walk you through it. Okay?